We're two best friends.
Two mediums that live in a virtual dream house.
Have our podcast taped and find out what happens when spirits get real.
Real funny. By the way, if you don't like cuss words, Dana, what are we rated?
We're rated M for mediumship, or Matt's immature.
I thought it was Matt is awesome, but whatever. Enjoyed this episode.
This is I'm a Medium.
Ask me how.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, Barbie. Welcome
Hi,
to
Barbie.
this year's...
Hi, Barbie. Hi, Barbie. Hi, Ken.
Welcome to this year's Halloween Spooktacular episode.
Ooh, it's very scary. Look, I have my ghost mug.
You're used to having something in it.
No, there is something in it. It's so warm. It's almost too hot.
Well, kids, I think after last episode's amazing turnout of all of you supporting that episode, we want to kind of delve into the spooky side of mediumship.
Well, there's also the let's go a little bit further. And I'm not ripping any creators, but I think we've got to talk about the broader context of maybe some shows out there, maybe even their show of the last show that we were talking about. But I don't want to just pick on like one show or one creator or anything like that. Or even when we are doing any type of paranormal investigation, which you and I love to do. Like if there's a hobby that you and I have, it's definitely like we love going on paranormal investigations, like wherever we go, even if it's just going to a presumed haunted location and just seeing what we get. I think that we have to say it because we always say it but we need to remind everybody these shows don't sell and they don't get views unless they put the fear factor in there. And there is a lot of bias and a lot of like, how do we make it scary on these shows? And, you know, as beautiful as that Satori and Cody thing was with the wrappings and all of that, you know, I think that it's really important that we are reminded to always go in, where is the evidence leading us? Where is our experience leading us, and leaving any fear or bias by the wayside? And that is good for paranormal investigations, but also for just our experience with the spirit world, especially if we're going to be mediums, right?
Yeah. Well, fear sells. So fear is false evidence appearing real, right? So that means it's not real until there's proof.
But to that extent, when we do have fear, false evidence appearing real, we are looking for any shred of anything that's going to feed that paradigm that we already have in our head, right? How can we get if we believe in demons, we'll throw it's the Halloween episode, so why don't we just throw out the demon word out there? We're going to look for things that fit our paradigm or our bias or our belief system, right? So false evidence appearing real. What are we trying to prove, or what are we trying to go in proving? And I think that it's important not to go in wanting to prove anything. Okay,
so can I be the bad Ken? I'm going to be the bad Ken this episode. Okay, so let's talk about Amanda.
You should do and I was going to say you should do a wardrobe change if you're going to be a bad Ken.
No, I like appearing nice and then being like a Sour Patch Kid.
You're going to beach off. You're beach off.
I'm going to beach off Amanda here. The Sam and Colby episode has had Amanda on before. And when I watched episode 1 of them in the Conjuring house, I watched a couple episodes of Sam and Colby. just so I could be like, well, where's this trackable? Like what's tangible? What is their point of view? What is their perspective? I want to know because I am that person. So I ended up watching where they went to, I believe it was the Hotel del Coronado, where we've been before. And it was her talking to a person saying she's physically seeing them outside the body. Now, as a mediumship educator, I'm not going to limit the limitless, but I can tell you that's fucking rare. I'm going to cuss. It's fucking rare that you see them outside the body. And this girl is giving the illusion to the general public that she's always physically seeing them outside her body. I'm going to leave space for her of being like, you might be. But I find it as the hundreds of mediums that I've ever read for, where's the proof? Where's the proof? Could it be validatable? Now, do I think that she's connected? Yeah, I think she's connected to something. But I think a lot of that could be her imagination or her mind's eye filling in the blanks. And there was not validatable stuff. But there was a lot of the times when I was watching her, especially in the Sam and Colby episode of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Now, what I like to call the shoulda, coulda, wouldas would be when you get a piece of evidence and you shoulda, coulda, woulda said it before the actual validation came through. And there would be a lot of the times, hold on, I'm going to do a really great impression of her having her notebook and being like, it would be after the fact. Say it when you're getting it, because then that makes it a little bit more amazing when you actually have something that is validatable, but then they were pulling straws of making the words that she was writing fit. And that's where I started to having a lot of issues with her credibility around what she was actually producing, was because it was after the fact. It wasn't as it was happening. And I think that was my biggest frustration. My other frustration with Amanda as an educator would be there would be a lot of diluting her bias into experiences in the house and then chalking them up to the demons. Like, you don't want to talk to this person because they're bad. Girl, there's 7 of you in that room, and you're the only one that's saying that you shouldn't talk to it because it's bad. Nobody else is saying that except you. Now, granted, you're the only one that says you're a medium, but you have Sam and Colby in the house that are doing tappa tappa tappas and rappa rappa rappas.
Or Satori
and Cody. Sorry, I'm getting names confused. Having validatable experiences that are non-fear based, yet you're coming into the home and you're the one that's having those issues. Well, I'm not a mathematician.
Yeah. I guess when, let's go back just a second ago to, if you are seeing full-bodied apparitions, and that's cool. That's medium. We always joke around like that's mediumship gold, right? If you can see them in front of you, and getting things, but what are you seeing? Can it be validated? And I it's never too much to ask of the spirit world to bring us information that we can validate, right? And when we are, I think, going back to our last episode, what I really enjoyed about that episode and the follow-up episode, the uncut one that was linked in their original video, where they really go and test more things about it, is they experimented with the spirit world. And I appreciated that, right? The spirit world appreciates being experimented with and worked with. And I don't think that it's too much to ask evidence and to experiment with the spirit world. Can you do this again? Can you give me some kind of piece of information that I can validate that it's not my imagination seeing a figure, but if I'm seeing a figure, it looks like this, it looks like this, it looks like this. And then can you validate what you just saw with somebody of that time that actually existed? Can you not just see the figure, but can you also get dates and pieces of evidence from this figure? Especially if you're a medium, you should be able to get information not just from seeing, because we as mediums see, hear, feel, taste, smell, know things that you should be able to get from something that is, if it's intelligent, you should be able to get more information than just what they would look like. So we're really looking for evidence on experiences, right?
Correct. Like, what's your experience? So it's great you saw him. Love that you saw him. Love that for you. But where's the tangibility and the proof and the evidence and the interaction that can prove that he's actually there, and that you're not picking up like something psychically off the land? I think.
And there's no harm in that. I think that it's important that we establish there's nothing wrong with picking up things psychically.
Correct.
In an investigation. But there's something about psychically, a lot of times when we're picking up things psychically from a place, that's not showing intelligent communication from the spirit world. We're picking up what happened at that place.
Correct. But when you're calling yourself a medium in that and you're saying you're doing mediumship, it should be mediumship. It should not just be psychic stuff and then labeling it as something else. So that's kind of like understanding the difference. And I think when we call ourselves a medium in a paranormal investigation, we're almost saying we're an authoritarian and an expert on what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, to be fair though, but I think you and I go into plenty of paranormal investigations, and we're not using our mediumistic abilities all the time in those places. There's definitely things that we pick up psychically, but we own it as this is coming in psychically. Like, I don't feel that this is intelligent things coming in. Like, I feel like this is psychically coming in. And I think owning what is psychically coming in versus what is like actual intelligent communication is important.
And I think like that's where it can go awry, because we walked the Hotel del Coronado and we got nothing.
We felt a few things, but nothing where we had
mediumistically.
I'm trying to think. We had 4 mediums with us that day. There were 4 of us, and nobody really got anything. We had a couple of devices with us as we walked around, and nothing really got picked up.
We got some psychic hits, and I think I got some psychic kicks of wanting to want to enter a room or like walk around. I was even in the same spot that they showed in that episode with the Hotel del Coronado, and I got nothing. Yeah. And you know what?
I did more remote viewing. Like, we had sat in the power at the beach before we went in, and I was able to remote view the hotel because I'd never been in the hotel ever before, and Matt and I are very anal about when we do things. Like, I didn't look up the hotel. I didn't like Google anything. So I had no idea what it looked like inside. And so I was like remote viewing like what the inside will look like. Like, I was getting that by sitting in the power, but I wasn't getting anything else. So that was a lot what I got from the Hotel del Coronado.
But I would have loved to just do that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what paranormal investigation you're going on. You should know nothing about the house. I see a lot of paranormal investigative shows, and yeah, it's to build a narrative for the episode. Like, I fucking get it, dude. I totally understand it. I get why they're doing it. But when you're going in and you're saying it's Mr. Smith in this house and Mr. Smith hung himself, no matter what interaction that you always noticed in those shows are like, Mr. Smith, is that you? And everything's Mr. Smith. Everything is Mr. Smith. And that dilutes the information because you don't have a lot to go off of, but then it pollutes everybody else's experience into Mr. Smith. How about, and now the proper way, kids, if you're going to do mediumship in a paranormal investigation, is to separate yourself from everybody else and write down your findings, and at the end come together and say, well, I experienced this in this room, I picked up this gentleman in this room, and I got this and this. And then you kind of correlate all of the experiences to see if what you can get is validated. Walking into a room and announcing what you're getting is only polluting everybody else's experience and their bias. We can't help bias. And I think that's a word that I really want to take back for the general public as an understanding is we have natural bias. And as we're told something, we get more bias and more bias and more bias. So you have to go into a paranormal investigation bias free.
Well, it's interesting, right? Like, let's just go to the Conjuring house for a moment. Everybody's like, the basement's this, the basement's this, the basement's this. What if it would be so interesting to do this study? They took a bunch of paranormal investigators that they know nothing about the Conjuring house, but they tell them all that the upstairs is where the demons are, and where this is this, and where, you know, like, that people have gotten possessed up in the attic or whatever. What do you think would happen?
Everybody would be afraid of the attic.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about, like, if you're told that the basement is, like, where everybody feels the safest. And you know, this is where the children always play, is at the basement. And they feel the best in the basement and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But upstairs and up in the attic, that's where we get the most negative activity. What would you think? I would love to do a scientific experiment where you feed one set of paranormal investigators this set of information, and then you feed a second set the complete opposite information, and you send them in. Would you get different information from the two sets of people?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, you know what, let's throw a little bit more bias in there. You want me to throw a little bit more bias in this experiment, Dana Willie? Tell them that their guardian angel meets them at the basement and see how many people have an experience with an angel. Because we all have a concept of what an angel is. So we'll make it more tangible. But that's how easy it is to manipulate a group of people in a paranormal investigation.
There was actually something, and I'll have to see if I can find it, but there was actually something that they did where it was like trying to prove that this is all fake, right? So they had put like a fake information about a location on a website, and they had invited all of these people, these paranormal investigators, into the space, but they had loaded all of this stuff on a fake website on you know, whatever. And of course all of these people like Googled what it was, right? And so they went on this paranormal investigation, and they're like, I'm sensing a G name, and I feel like it's George, and I feel like he would sit here, and da 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 da. It was all on the website, right? And so really, like, you have to like really discern, like, what have we been fed about the Conjuring House over and over and over again? And when we have this fear bias, we've had a movie that was made about this. I mean, who hasn't heard about the Conjuring House? Even if you haven't read the book or watched the movie or whatever, we've all heard about it, right? We're going in with some sort of bias.
Well, that's why I told you my biggest problem in the last episode was because they had an Annabelle doll in the case behind them. It already sets the tone for bias. You've already now said something is evil in the house, right? But letting the house be what the house is more magical. I think me and you get a lot, well, I get a lot of flack. I don't know about you. I get a lot of flack of being like, demons aren't real, right? And the reason why I am so staunch about this stuff, or staunch about paranormal investigations, is because I work in the realm of, I want this stuff to be real. If demons are real, I want it to be real. But I want it to be undeniably proven that it's real. I don't want a shadow of a doubt that it's real, right? And I go by my own experiences. But when we're looking at people that are feeding off of each other, it does not help the study of the continuation of life after death. It actually does the opposite. And it makes people afraid of the spirit world. They want us to work with them so bad. And I think one thing that I know is that they want a lot of us to be able to communicate with them. And they want it. So when we're making people afraid to work with them, it makes the work 2 times harder when we can just go in and just let it experience what it experiences. What is it about physical interactions that you get a lot of, Dana? Because I always get the 3 scratches across my back. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, or I got a bruise or
pushed.
whatever. Yeah, or
hair
pushed.
pulled.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I think we have to separate those 2 things, because again, our minds are so powerful that if there's any kind of physical interaction, which, let's just say this first, I need to establish that, is the spirit world able to interact with us physically. Absolutely they are. Absolutely they are. But our mind can easily manipulate feeling spirit energy into I was grabbed, or I felt a hand on me, or things of that nature, right? Our minds can really run wild with this stuff. But, were we physically pushed or things like that? Or are we just feeling a lot of energy behind us? And then our mind goes, "Rrrr." So there's kind of separating those two. And again, not trying to run too far with, and just letting the stimuli be the stimuli, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's important. But if we're actually going to talk about, I know it was a demon because I woke up with scratches on myself. That's also hard to prove, right? Because let's say you and I are making the case to prove that there was physical contact by an entity. I feel like we're picking on a guy named Damon today, but whatever, but let's say we were trying to prove that. How are we going to prove that this came from something that didn't happen to you earlier that day that you weren't aware of? Causation does not mean correlation. And so we have to know that, just because you found scratches the next day and you felt something the night before does not mean that it came from them. So to prove all the pieces come together is difficult to do.
Well, I have a theory.
And I'm not saying you didn't get scratched.
Correct.
But I can't prove that it came from what you perceive to be a spirit interaction.
Right. And if you woke up with scratches, who's to say you didn't scratch yourself in the middle of the night? You know what I mean? So you
had an animal, or you had a reaction to your new detergent, and
there could be a lot. We always have to rule out mundane before magical, right?
And I'm open. I need to say this before y'all come for me. I am open to whatever. I have a very flexible mind. I have a very flexible and open mind. But I have been yet to be moved by some piece of evidence that shows me this is what happened. Here's the proof.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I couldn't help but to take that dirty. I'm down for anything.
Listen, might be down for that too. Who knows?
You're down for anything, Barbie.
It's 2023. Barbie's down for a lot more than she used to be.
Ectoplasm, baby. Oh yeah. So I have a little bit of a rule of the touching and physicality, but I also feel like there's a little bit of us that can pick up the information in mediumship and then just interpreting it psychically, right? So the Conjuring House into itself is on a piece of land that is in the middle of a war that's like the bloodiest war in American history, or so that is what's being said. That people have died there in not so great ways, and that we can pick that up, even mediumistically we can pick that up, right? And I think sometimes we can pick up spirit at the same time as picking up psychic information and not knowing how to divide the two. And then all of a sudden it makes it very hard for us to determine what's coming from where. And especially in a location that has had a lot of trauma like that, where you are going to pick up some not so nice things. You're going to pick up some negative sensations. You're going to pick up some negative emotions because somebody just was probably pew-pewed there, right? Or they were stabbed there, or somebody took their own life there. But the spirit world also wants to communicate with us, and especially if you're a medium, on your senses. So you might feel a choking sensation because the spirit world is trying to tell you how they passed. Now, once you don't interpret that evidence and you give, well, I'm feeling a choking sensation and I'm feeling a man, that goes away. Spirit pain does not linger. It does not stick around. It does not say, hi, how are you? If it's sticking around, that is a huge indication that that is you. That is you holding on to that evidence. And so if you are getting a new stimulus that you're not used to, and you're still feeling it beyond the time that you're saying it, it is your body still going, that is new, that was scary, oh my God, I'm still feeling this. And I don't want to say you're being dramatic, but you're being dramatic, right?
It's new, and so
it's new,
and that's okay. I don't even want to go so far to say you're being dramatic. You're just paying attention to something that is new. And when we are in I don't even want to say a fear state, but when we have to understand what happens in a fear place. Like we're in a fight or flight place when we are in a fear state, right? Which means everything's going to be heightened. Everything is going to be like our adrenaline is up here and all of that. So it's going to be normal to like want to react in certain ways. So kind of understanding and keeping that at bay. And again,
it's not an orb.
It's not an orb. It's a wig.
Every single time we talk about this shit, there's shit floating around in my ear. But you're 100% right, Dina. You're right in the fact of they're not being dramatic, but in the case of paranormal shows, they're being dramatic.
Well, when they have to, when they're out to sell, right?
Yeah.
There's a motive for why they're doing this, and here's the thing, like. Here's what I want to sit with for a second. All of these, pick your creator, pick your show, pick your creator. Are they all okay right now? Did they survive? Are they healthy? Do they have any problems right now?
Mm-hmm. So I just want to give you.
So they survived these places. Like if these, and this is facts, right? If these entities and demons and possessions and all of this could really happen, then why aren't these people dead?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you some fun facts here because I Googled something really quick. You want me to hear my fun fact?
Mm-hmm.
So as of 2023, Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures reportedly earns a staggering $100,000 an episode.
That's 100,000 reasons to make something bigger than it should be, right?
Mm-hmm. So if we didn't reflect on having to make $100,000 an episode to make ratings to keep your show, would you, if you know you make $100,000 an episode, pump it up a little bit?
Yeah.
I would.
Where's the motivation, right?
Yeah. Am I going to get ratings? Because I'm telling you, the spirit world, if it really showed up the way it was, it probably wouldn't get $100,000 an episode. We're at this haunted house and we've experienced nothing. See you next episode.
Bye, guys. But I think, again, I think going back, because motivation, where's the motivation and what are we looking for? And money, listen, I don't fault anybody, and I don't fault Zach Baggins for making money. Like, good on him for being successful and all of that. But you have to check people's motives at the door. Like, why are they doing the things that they're doing? And is there a production company pushing them? Is there, right? You gotta ask these questions. So I want to go back a little bit more, back to our friends. I'm friendly. I don't know. Satorian and Cody. In episode 2 of Sam and Colby's week at the Conjuring House. It's night 2, and those of you who haven't watched it, you can choose to watch it or whatever. I'm not pushing that episode as much. I think what was really important to see, you guys got to see in episode 1, especially the uncut version. I would want you guys to see that. But in episode 2, the medium on there said she saw a soldier. The Satorian and Cody, through the tappings, validated that there was a soldier. Cool. But then now everybody has been coming up to me and like saying, see, he's stuck. And this is why I really wanted to have this conversation today, because we like to take little clips of things, and even their show is cut, and we're not seeing the uncut version of that conversation with the soldier, number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, everybody likes to cut things and put them on social media, and so you're not seeing the full episode. So if you'd like to rewatch the full episode of episode 2 of their night 2, what he says is, I would like to leave. He doesn't say, I can't leave. Annabelle, or is it Annabelle? It's not Annabelle. It's Abigail.
Abigail
can leave freely. She's gone everywhere. Nobody says in that episode that he can't leave, that he's stuck. Mm-hmm. But they sure try to build that paradigm. And Satori and Cody are like, no, that's not what he said. That's not what he said. And did you see how they really tried to build that paradigm? And it was like, no. So you have to, but how quickly can our minds, because I think that this is a perfect illustration of where we can simply take what Spirit says and we can twist that shit really, really, really quick of like, I want to leave. So what's to say that he was there for 2 years?
Who's to say he wasn't there for 5 minutes?
And he's like, I remember why I didn't like this place. I'd like to leave now.
You know what he did on the other side? Fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out.
Yeah. I think that, and who's to say my interpretation of what I'm seeing is correct, right?
Right.
But the thing that's important is like, who's to say that he's stuck there and can't go anywhere either, right?
Yeah.
But what was clear to me was nobody was saying he was stuck. But there sure was a paradigm that was trying to be built that he was stuck. And Amanda needed to release him or do something to help him be unstuck.
And why her? Can I just be honest? Why her? Out of any medium that's ever.
Well, they were trying to build because she was able to see him.
Oh my God. You know what? Today's episode is brought to you by Spirit Lube. Unstick it just like we do with your grilled cheese on your pan. Order today.
Listen, I'm sure other mediums were able to perceive him, and
right.
I again, in all of my experience, I am by no means an expert paranormal investigator. I think I'm a decent medium, but I never had an experience where anything like this has happened. So I can only speak from my own experience, but they don't need us.
No. Well,
if anything, like maybe
math.
A little like, attaboy, you can get out of here.
Go, girl. Run, Forrest, run.
You live that afterlife you've been wanting to live. You got this.
You know, when we were talking about like injured spirit hurting people, you know where my brain went? There's a hungrier, younger spirit coming down the stairs behind you. Yeah. I had to quote Showgirls. I'm sorry.
It's the Showgirls of the spirit world. So, but what kept on hitting me in that episode was like, first off, guys, when I tell you I am open, I have a flexible state of mind. If something would have said there's proof and evidence that he is stuck in that house, I've been like, I'm going to have to like
rethink my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. But there was no evidence that said he was stuck there. And so, but God, how we want to run with that.
Yeah. Well, it sells. Can we just take a moment? And I'm going to shift conversation just for a hot minute. Let's go back to episode Uncut, the Uncut episode, where they were in that upper floor office space and they figured out that spirit doesn't stand on the floor.
And stomp. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about this is that the spirit, we want to put everything, and this is why it's so important to like leave our bias behind, because we suspect that the spirit world works just like the human world works. Now, I believe that the spirit world, like everybody's like, up in heaven. No, they're right here with us. They're right around us. Like they're not off somewhere. They're right around us, but their reality works different than our reality. They don't have corporeal bodies that they stomp with, right? Mm-mm. But our human understanding wants to put them in a box like that. They want to your grandma is still in grandma's body in the spirit world. No, she doesn't need that body anymore. She's just energy.
It's amazing. So,
But it was like,
yeah. What did your brain picture when you pictured when they were explaining that they're above the grounds, hovering over the ground?
well, first off, I thought it was funny that, not funny because they're trying to figure it out, right? But again, they were trying to figure it out because the word that they kept on giving was whip, right? And so they were like, the spirit world is like, has a whip. And I'm like, they don't need, like, they don't have hands. They don't have a whip. Like, they're like whipping themselves. I'm like, no. But what I actually, I like this, like they kind of go in and out, kind of go in and out. Like they, like, that's kind of what I visualize is kind of like this expansion, like going in and expand, kind of like that is kind of what I was.
Like a vibrational ball. Mm-hmm. Like that's what I pictured. I picture this little light ball going, like whipping out like that, and then just like being able to do it. From what I took from that episode, I think that they are levitating above it. They whip out, and it creates that like thunk noise against the ground. From the pulsation of the energy a little bit. Just my brain. I mean, maybe it's not true. I don't know. But it's interesting is I think that on some surfaces, they probably are ground level. Like I think if you're outside, I think they can hover a little bit more to the ground. But then it got me thinking when I was watching an episode, I'm like, who's to say because that building was renovated that the floors weren't higher? At some point, I don't know, maybe because maybe time doesn't exist there and they're working within the confines of what they have. I don't know.
I'm gonna be a total shit.
Go ahead.
Let's just take a moment.
Because it's not a perfect day Barbie.
Listen, stereotypical Barbie. You know, do you ever think about dying?
All the time.
What if this is all crap from Satori and Cody, right? Like, what if they're making clicking noises with their feet? Maybe there's a test that has not yet been. Maybe we're gonna find out that this is all crap, and I have to also make room for that, right?
Okay.
Like,
I don't know. I'm pretty bought in.
Yeah, I am forever like I just have an open mind for everything. Like I don't. I would love to see it myself. I would love to see it tested out a little bit more. The one thing that kind of like I don't understand why they didn't do it was like the cards. Like why didn't they want to do the like?
Yeah, I can understand that. The couple things I'm going to do, and then I'll get to the cards that I want to talk about. What I loved about that uncut episode was that Satori and Cody were figuring it out just as much as we were as they were doing it, of like what their abilities could do, what the abilities couldn't do, the rubber glove test of understanding that it was conductive. And so it just tracked by science, but it was really nice. And you could see the relief on her face of when she was like, we can just hold hands with gloves on. Now we can go out in public. Like you could see the relief on her face that they were discovering and playing with it. I think that's what I enjoyed about that episode the most, was the wonder and the playfulness that they got to experience with the spirit world right then and there. When they got to the cards, I think Spirit's answer was it was just needless. That wasn't the reason why they were there. And I kind of respected that. What I don't understand is not even that the cards, but the rules.
Yeah.
Like, do you get the handbook for the recently deceased when you cross over?
I know.
Is Beetlejuice right the whole time?
I know. But there's a lot. So, and it's okay. Here's a couple of things. So this is why I bring this up, because I continue to let my experience speak for what I believe, right?
Okay.
So if tomorrow my experience says something different, then I'm going to have that shape my belief for today. Because I think that that's important, to have a flexible mind and not be such a black and white thinker, especially when it comes to something we don't understand, right? Because we would have like maybe seen that first video, or even thought about the wrappings of the Fox sisters and said, oh, they're knocking on the wall or they're stomping their feet on the ground, right? But now we might understand it a little bit better. So letting our experience and letting the evidence continue to unfold what this truly is. And I would love for this to be unfolded and tested out a little bit more. And I think it's going to be done, right? How can it not be? How can it not be? But I think it's important to continue to have an open mind. Like, I am very impressed by what I have seen so far. But these are some of the things that I'm like, I would like to see it tested out some different way, of like them not doing some more blind studies where they don't know something.
That, you know what would be interesting? And maybe if we ever meet Cody and Satori, we blindfold them. And we place people in there to see if by chance that they could read for somebody with a blindfold on and get intelligent answers. Oh, see, you steal my idea, people. I'm gonna take you to court.
But these are some of the things that I would like to see done, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that these are things that are too far to be asked for, right?
No.
And I still have an open mind, and I'm still open, right? But I again, this is what we ask. Let's experiment. Let's see what's possible, what's capable. And I'm totally okay with being proven wrong. And I'm totally okay with the spirit world all of a sudden saying demons are real.
Psych.
And here's the evidence and reasons why. And I think I can't go fully behind like, this is why Satori and Cody are 100% real, and then not be flexible in my thinking on something else. I think having a flexible way of thinking on everything and letting our experience and all of that speak for itself in every... And I kind of spoke about it on our last episode of when might people... Because we talked about it, right? When might people's motives be colored? Mm-hmm. To want to do something, because we've seen it in history by other mediums that legit had the gift, right? Legit had the ability to do stuff, but they went a different direction because they were motivated by money and by fame, or because they had to do something, and they went and did some nefarious things because of it. So we have to continually keep our eye on the ball and be in the present moment of like, okay, cool, I saw this, but what am I experiencing right now? And does this ring true to me without bias, without previous perception?
I'm going to leave my final thoughts this. Mankind is thousands of years old, right? And we are just at the birthplace, and really the 1980s, 70s are not that long ago. I'm sorry, people, they're really not. That's when technology really started to be able to capture things, and that we are at the dawn of the age of technology where we can capture this stuff. And so I think right now is a really excellent place in time to be pioneers of the spiritual movement of discovering life after death. But we have to do it with honesty and integrity. And we have to remember that the horror industry and the paranormal industry is a $7 billion industry a year. $7 billion. And now we already know that Zach Baggins makes $100,000 an episode. Do not take things for face value. Be a pioneer. Do things honestly. Prove the continuation of life after death. Sometimes it's not all about money and it's not all about ratings, but it's about what we can do. And
sometimes it's not sexy, guys. And sometimes it's not sexy.
To just touch the spirit world. Now, where I feel like Cody and Satori are coming in is they are touching the spirit world. And that's just my opinion. And I think that I would love to see them continue to discover their abilities and to put biases aside and just let the spirit world speak. Because if they can do that and they can stick in there, they are going to have amazing things for them. Mm-hmm. Right? And so They're right now for me, they're standing as advocates of the spirit world, and just the compassion that I see in Satori's face when she speaks to the spirit world with such respect, and that she's not afraid.
Yeah.
And that should show you, if she is comfortable being in that house with all the things that the house has reportedly done, and she is completely fine speaking to the spirits of that home, that should say volumes of what can be possible.
And the owner doesn't seem to be worried, y'all. So,
No.
I think our personal experience in the moment, and I'm moved by it too. I mean, I was a giddy schoolgirl last week when I saw that episode. I still am very moved by it, but I'm going to continue to let my experience and the evidence shape where I go with it from here. And I think that's important as we learn and grow with the spirit world, and letting our personal experience and evidence shape where we go, not what we're told. And I want you guys to all have that discernment within you. Am I moved by this? Does this move me? Is there evidence to push this forward for me? Am I just believing this because somebody told me to believe it? Or do I believe it? Does it feel true to me? And I think that that's really, really important. And I love what you said about being a pioneer, because every single one of you, as you work with the spirit world, are pioneers with the spirit world.
Yeah. And sometimes being pioneers is just going by your gut and picking it apart, and until it can't be explained, it's magical. And I think the spirit world is magical. And so
it's so cool.
Yeah, hopefully that brought you guys some answers on our stance on episode 2 and beyond. We'll keep you up to date with the Conjuring House Hell Week as it unfolds, of our opinions about it. And you can make sure you follow us on social media in case we go live, and you can ask your questions, or you can leave a comment in the comment section, because we'd love to hear from you guys.
We want to hear your opinion, and I'm not saying that Matt and I aren't looking at our own investigation of the Conjuring House.
Get ready, Rhode Island. Daddy's coming home. All right. I love you all. You're in my heart. And Dana, take it away.
You are the light of 100,000 Barbie and Kens. You are the light.
Yeah. See you on the Malibu beach. Bye, everybody. Real good. Hey, Dana, do you want to be my long-distance, non-committed medium best friend?
Yes.